Question before the body is concurrence with SB 1. Gentlelady from the 71st.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm back for more today, and the first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the gentleman from the 72nd's comments. The gentleman who just spoke actually said that we were the ones with alternate worldviews, and I'd like to say the gentleman from the 72nd's comments today presented this beautiful utopia of growers that had no issues with environmentalists and people concerned about groundwater and trout fishers. He failed to remember that there are other people who are affected by this in Portage County. And I have to bring that to light today because he basically described an instance that just is frankly untrue. We have a lot of growers and a lot of business interests in Portage County, part of which he represents and most of which I do. And we also have the DNR investigating the Little Plover River, which actually has dried up over the past 7 years. So it's really important to remember that when some of this commentary comes to light, it isn't just black and white. There are some issues with reconciling business and environment, and those two cannot be diametrically opposed. We have to work together, but there's no place in Wisconsin where in one district all the businesses are working together and there are no issues whatsoever with the Department of Natural Resources and with people who want to actually trout fish in a Class 1 trout stream, which is what we're having in Portage County. The next thing I'd like to acknowledge is the issue of jobs. Everyone today in support of this bill has brought up how great this bill is for jobs, and we've mentioned over and over again that most likely, and the press already has reported today, that this will in fact result in lawsuits, but we also know that it's probably highly unlikely that a mine could actually be sited in the Pinocchio Hills. So should mines be sited in other parts of the state? I do have a question, Mr. Speaker, and that question is, this mining bill was written for one out-of-state mining company, Gogebic Taconite. Are all of you ready and prepared for the other mining companies willing to come into the state and willing to site other mines in other parts of the state, and so on? Because all we've thought about today is one mine that is not going to happen, and it's not going to create jobs, and you are hinging all of your bets on job growth, your 250,000 jobs that are supposed to be coming along in the next 2 years on this one mine that will not be sited and permitted and will not happen. And I find this highly ironic at a time when in central Wisconsin, we've just lost 600 new high-paying IT jobs due to the actions of the state. And we've seen very little intervention or concern at all for those people. These people who vote both Republican and Democrat, these people who care very much about their future. Instead, we're seeing just the utmost disrespect to those people, and we're tossing them aside and bending over backwards for an out-of-state mining company. That's the height of disrespect and the height of dishonor. And I have to say, this is not a jobs bill once again. Finally, I'd like to call your attention to the issue with the tribes. My colleague from Milwaukee mentioned earlier that she was very concerned with the disrespect to the tribes, and I have to echo her concerns. I thought it was highly appalling that we've been throwing the tribes under the bus today. What for? What is your point here? I do have a memo I'd like to read, and Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to read from a written document from time to time.
Without objection.
Thank you. This memo is from the Department of Natural Resources to the governor and other members of the DNR. It is entitled, Requested Info on Mining. Gentlemen, per your request, I offer the following information and perspectives. Please ensure the governor is cognizant of the state's responsibility under the Voight decision to consult with Wisconsin tribes on matters that may materially affect their interests in off-reservation lands within the ceded territory. This would obviously include issuing a mining permit for a mine within the ceded territory. Acknowledgement of the state's responsibility to consult will be a very important issue to the tribes. I recommend that the governor acknowledge the tribe's sovereign rights on their reservation lands, the state's obligation to consult with the tribe on any mine permitting within the ceded territory, and his intent to direct DNR to do so, and that he is interested in hearing their perspectives and concerns. Now, throughout the day, we've heard that several different representatives, such as the gentleman from the 21st, had approached the tribes. I'd like to call into question, has our governor even done so? And the tribes have said over and over again that they'd seen very little conversation between the chief executive of our state and the tribes. And this memo that I hold in hand that I just read to you from the DNR to the governor advising him to get in touch with the tribes is dated July 2011. So he's had ample time to actually follow through on that, and we saw very little of that. Instead, today, we see members of his own party throwing the tribes under the bus to prove some vindictive point that I'm not even entirely sure of. And I just want to say I'm utterly concerned by that and quite frankly disgusted. So when we look at making this vote today, we shouldn't be looking at people's vindictive ideas of what the tribe should or shouldn't be doing with their own land and their own sovereignty, but instead we should be thinking about our districts. When I vote today, I will be voting for the people of central Wisconsin who've already been ignored by their state government when they lost 600 jobs and are poised to lose more. And they don't see the government doing anything for them, and this mine won't do anything for them. And I would ask all of you to consider that when you vote no today. Thank you.